That's a nice whistle you blow like a bird.
It's a ceramic whistle.
Toys are one important part of the Chinese ceramic area.
I like these ceramic dolls.
They are ceramic Beijing opera characters.
What is this toy?
This is called xun, which is a unique wind instrument of China. It is made of clay and shaped like oval and occupied an important position in the world's original art history.
How did Xun originate and develop?
Xun originated from the labor and production activities of Chinese ancestors. It was made by the ancestors to imitate the song of birds and beasts in order to trap prey at first. Later, with the progress of society, it evolved into a simple musical instrument and gradually increased the sound hole and developed into a melodic instrument that could play music.
Ancient toys are so interesting.
Hi everyone! Today we are going to talk about Kangxi Wucai.
Hi, Professor Chu. According to historical records, by the time of the Kangxi period, Wucai porcelain was an even more mature and refined art form. It really had nothing matching its quality since ancient times, and we are still not able to surpass its quality today. Therefore, all the Wucai wares of Qing dynasty were also called Kangxi Wucai. What is the major breakthrough of Kangxi Wucai porcelain?
The most prominent contribution to come out of Kangxi Wucai was the discovery of rare blue and black overglaze colorings with the rare blue pigment. Qinghua blue was no longer needed as a substitute color. Wucai colors were now directly painted on the white glaze instead of on Qinghua porcelain. The intensity of the new blue coloring was far superior to those of Qinghua. The black color during the Kangxi period had the shine of black paint. When used among the images of Wucai, it strengthened the effects of the overall image.
What about the painting secret for making Kangxi Wucai porcelain?
The material used for painting lines on Daming Wucai was glue-bound distemper and was upgraded to frankincense oil in Kangxi Wucai with different properties between the old and the new materials. The effects conveyed in the image were also different. Glue-bound distemper is a water-based paint and not easily absorbed by the smooth and non-porous glaze. The artist must use steady and quick strokes in order to avoid leaving watermarks when the brush stays in one spot for too long. Therefore, it was very difficult to create neat and controlled lines. So only a loose style of painting was suited, frankincense oil. However, is an oil-based material which has a certain degree of viscosity and tenacity, mixed with pearlescent pigment used for wucai, and using a special kind of brush made in Jingdezhen, dipped it into some camphor oil. The frankincense oil would be fully dissolved and absorbed by the brush. As long as one mastered these oil properties, the brush can then be used either swiftly or slowly, painting thick or thin lines at will. This allowed for better expression of detail. With such a technique, the artisans can give their own interpretations to engravings and prints, as well as to all other types or illustrations and imagery, and apply them to the astonishing Kangxi Wucai porcelain.
As far as I know, the coloring employed in Kangxi Wucai was a transparent, clear as glaze, vitric pigment. This kind of pigment can let the ground color show through, but the colors lack a temporary tinniness, and it was difficult to paint and smooth, and even layer with this pigment. Targeting such a tendency, the artisans when illustrating their images, try to use lines instead of flat planes. In most paintings, pens are used to demonstrate lines and darks, but Kangxi Wucai relied on lines and points for gradations from light to dark.
Yes, while outlines are important, the organization and arrangement of lines can be used to illustrate scenes such as tree trunks, leaves, flower petals, and rocks by differentiating the light and dark planes in the objects. When these lines are covered by the transparent coloring, their rich textures can still show through and make the imagery richer and more expressive and coloring brighter and more intense. The buoyancy of the Wucai colors was also balanced by these lines. Therefore, it would be rare to find a Wucai illustration with large areas of pure colors and no lines to complement. When lines were inappropriate for the subject matter, pointillism was utilized, such as for painting the ground or the dark sides of natural rock sculptures, using points that were either highly concentrated or gradually changing density. In Chinese, it was referred to as sandy ground or plum flower dots. This technique can also be used to create exquisite motifs on the garments in illustrations of people. In short, artisans when making Wucai porcelain can rely on the crafting techniques to emphasize its strong points and avoid the shortcomings. This fully demonstrated the superiority and flexibility of the new crafting technique, fusing contemporary painting and illustration techniques into the art. Wucai porcelain was in a class of its own. But what about the materials for making Kangxi Wucai porcelain, Professor Qiu?
Kangxi Wucai's material and treatment were all improved from prior products. The increased content of kaolin made the clay paste extremely fine. The calcium oxide contents in the glaze were further reduced. New and improved kilns allowed for even higher maturing temperatures. The higher hardness and rigidity of the porcelain was never before achieved. The body felt smoother and more refined, so that the coloring over the glaze appeared even more brilliant and wore a rare treat for the eyes.
That was high standard in those days. No wonder porcelain objects of the Kangxi period, regardless of size, were all modeled in standard shapes and intricately made.
What are the characteristics of civilian kings in Kangxi period?
The commoners kings of this period produced many large porcelain products, especially carved vessels such as zun, gu, fish tanks, and so on. Their sizes exceeded their counterparts from the Jiajing and Wanli periods in the Ming Dynasty. The increased size made for powerful statements and was aesthetically pleasing. They also imaged many rectangular shaped vessels, which were not made from molds, but instead formed by melting several pieces together. It was quite difficult to achieve. Thus, such kind of vessel was rarely found in previous time periods. The improvement in material and technological standard ensured in a unique artistic style. The corners of adjoining faces were obvious, and the bands were executed with certainty. Even curved lines or surfaces contained elements of straight lines or sharp angles. In such a style of harmony, the straight lines have the qualities of masculinity and strength. When used together with the brightly colored decorative motifs, it conveyed an upward and unyielding spirit of its era, the period of Kangxi, the longest of all feudal eras ruled by a single emperor in Chinese history. Qing Dynasty Wucai not only possessed innovations in crafting, modeling, and illustrative techniques. It showed the greatest varieties in expressed subject matter of all porcelain during the before its time. The Qing rulers were promoters of Confucian teachings, advocating ruling the country with virtues and bonding the people with courtesy. This was congruent with traditional Chinese philosophy. Thus, the porcelain products of this era contained much educational objectives. These well-known works included Romance of the Three Kingdoms, The Water Margin, The Legends of Yue Fei, and the Lady Zhao Leaving the Frontier, and so on. Mostly epic scale stories taking place in a war-torn era, such as genre of illustrations was commonly referred to as 刀马人, or literally armed genre or horseback. It often had imposing manners, with the character in a splendid and exaggerated pose. This genre of wucai porcelain was not only loved by the domestic markets. Foreign countries and especially Western painters also welcomed them. Another area reflected by wucai illustrations was the lives and hobbies of the literati and scholars. Furthermore, there were motifs such as the pomegranate with 100 seeds. Each seed would represent a song, which is phonetically the same as the word for seed. Other images wishing well of people, such as the pomegranate, lotus, and peach, together would signify songs, good fortune, and longevity. Also, there were design patterns that indicated high accomplishment and prosperity of one's children, such as the mystical animal Qilin delivering a song to the family, male children and grandchildren abundant in the family, and so on. From the imperial kings, the best example of porcelain imagery was the farming and weaving illustrations, which were meant to be an incentive to the people of the agricultural and textile industries.
What are the typical features of Qing Dynasty ceramic decoration?
By the 30th year under Kangshi's regime, the emperor began mass-scale examinations and selections for candidates of government seats and thus promoted the Han Chinese culture. Thus, pottery and poses began to appear on porcelain in mass numbers in the form of calligraphy, sometimes complemented with illustrations. The calligraphy was done in a masterful way, truly enhancing the image composition. This kind of porcelain, which focused on text and calligraphy, was later viewed as a unique element of recognition of Qing Dynasty porcelain.
Thank you, Professor Qiu, for introducing so much knowledge to us.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you
See you
next
next
time.
time.